All
This
right,
meeting is
welcome back to
recorded.
the show. Hey, before we get started with today's guest, which I am super pumped to get to and talk to and share with you and share her story with you because it's fascinating. I want to give a quick shout out to our intro. You notice we did a new intro this year for season two. Shout out to Jennifer Vanderlot. She is our director of fulfillment, customer service manager here. We've actually had her on the show if you want to learn more about her because she was a baller, man. She was an All American at Indiana University down in Bloomington, and she actually has a whole day named after her in the state of Indiana. That's how good she was as a Hoosier there. So just shout out to Jennifer. I'm just so thankful to be part of her team and what she does for us. And if you've called in, you've either spoken to her or you've spoken to one of her team members. And if you know what I know, she's a rock star. So speaking of rock stars, let's get into today. You might, this is the first episode we've had where not a real person's name is on the title. No, not trying to be any mysterious or anything here, but we've just got a cool person that I've met through my favorite social media, which you already know if you listen, it's Twitter. Help me welcome from the Dallas area, Auntie from the Twitter's verse. That's where she's really from. Help me welcome to the podcast, Auntie Throw Something. Auntie, how you doing?
I am great. Thanks for asking.
It's the
And
first
thanks for letting
show.
me be on too. I
Oh,
appreciate
well, we've been trying to book this for a while now.
it. Yes,
So,
we
yeah, yeah,
have.
yeah, yeah. This will be the first show that I will call someone like a family name. I'll be calling you Auntie. So if you're Auntie, am I nephew? Is that how that works?
I don't know. I
Yeah.
think you may be a cousin somewhere
Cousin.
from
Yeah,
me.
yeah. I'm
Yeah,
from
cousin.
Alabama, so I'm better as a cousin than a nephew.
Yes,
Yeah, I don't.
yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I come from a small family, so I don't have aunts and uncles and all that. So
Oh
you're
yeah.
you're
Oh yeah.
officially my auntie. Okay, just
Oh well,
letting you
I
know.
take great pride in
There you
that.
go.
Thank
There you
you.
go.
Mhm.
Auntie, throw something. We're going to get into what and why, what does that mean, and all that stuff. But first, and foremost, you are a coach. And I hope I don't have to explain this, but she coaches the throws primarily. I hope that was just a known fact there. But would love to learn more about you and what you do coaching and why you coach and mentors along the way. So I haven't said this example in a while, but I'm kind of a Marvel Comics guy. I don't know, did you ever get into comics growing up at all?
I
Spider-Man?
dabble.
No? Okay. Well, my favorite part about comic books and all these great movies that are coming out is the origin story, right? When you learn how Peter Parker got bit by the spider, like that's just so interesting to me. So I want to know your origin story. Where do we start? Where does track and field start for you as an athlete, a coach? You tell us where we start.
Oh my gosh. Well, first off, thanks for even inviting me to be on. This is such an honor because you've
Mm-hmm.
had some rock stars on here, and you reached out to me because you just probably needed to like complete another episode to like hurry up and get it done under a quota. It's all good. I get it. I get it, and I am appreciative, but I don't feel like I really belong in this line of amazing people that you've had on
Well,
this
I don't like
podcast.
to I don't like to interrupt our guest, but I am going to interrupt you there, Auntie, because this is vitally important to us at Gill and to me personally. And you're right, we have had some Mount Rushmore of
Oh my
coaches, right? I mean, coaches. We had Mouse Holloway who just won the Division 1 women's championship.
God.
Uh, George Williams who's won more national championships than I can count. But it is really important to us to have high school coaches, NAIA coaches, club coaches, because
Mhm,
no matter where you are and no matter what level you coach at, you're
mhm.
coaching. That means you're affecting young people depending on your level, right? 14 to 18 in high school, roughly 18 to 22 in college. You're affecting young people in a positive way, and that
Mhm.
is so important. So take that out your mouth that you don't know if you belong here and all that stuff. And you're a filler, bull crap. You are 100% important, and we're so
Oh,
excited to have you here. Hey, think about it this way: there are only 52 guests a year. We do one a week. That's it.
what?
You are one of 52, my friend.
Oh my God. Cry. Double cry.
Now,
Thank you.
everybody is tired of hearing me talk. Let's go. Where's our origin story? Where does track and field start for you?
Okay, so um, in high school, well, actually, even started before high school, junior high, I was probably one of the tallest folks in my building, let alone in the class. And of course, if you're a tall female, you get pegged to play basketball. I was from a very small town when we moved here to the South. back in the late 80s. And of course, we didn't have a lot of the opportunities to play other sports, so soccer and softball and all that. We really didn't have it. It was basketball or pretty much nothing. Um, so I got pegged fairly quickly to play basketball. I wasn't a fan of it.
Hmm.
I mean, I just wasn't. I went to the camps, I went to the clinics, I went to the practices, I joined the teams. I was on the team in junior high, and by the time I got to high school, I tried out for the basketball team and actually made it. But I didn't want to be a center.
Hmm.
And I understand that they usually pick the tall girls to be the center, and the smaller, faster girls play forward and guard and all that. But I didn't want to be a center. So after some discussions, heated discussions with the with the high school coach, I got kicked off the basketball team. It's pretty much what it is. I got kicked off because I would not listen. Yeah, I didn't want to stay under the basket and just catch rebounds all day. I wanted to be active. And even though I was like 0 for 72, it didn't matter because I kept going.
That's right.
I wanted to prove my point, but I was better than that. But nonetheless, my sophomore year, that was my freshman year that I joined the high school basketball team and got exited from that. My sophomore year, I actually found track and field. I was also a band geek. So the fall was a pretty heavy season for us anyway. Spring came around and I really didn't have much to do, with the exception of being orchestra or whatever case was for the band or the jazz band. So I was, like I said, still big, still tall, still fairly muscular. I have a fairly athletic build. And one of the girls that was on the track team told me, she says, "Why don't you come out and try for the track team?" I was like, "I'm not running anywhere." She's like, "Well, you don't have to run. You can do what I do. You can throw, shot, and discus." And just so happens, I was like, "Okay, well, yeah, I'll go take a look."
Did you did you
Watching the,
did you
uh
know did you know what that meant when she said shot? Like, where was your track knowledge? Did you know when she said shot and discus? Did you immediately know? Oh, okay, shot put in the discus, or did you like throw stuff? I don't know, like a football, baseball. I don't know what. Like, where were you?
Actually, I did know. I had just a small reference, only because watching the Olympics every 4 years in
Hmm.
my household
Hmm.
was a very, very, very big deal. My
Right.
mother made certain that we watched from opening to closing ceremonies, and as
Ah.
much of it that the local syndicates would cover,
Yeah.
because they
Yeah.
don't cover those a whole lot.
Right.
So, but we watched that, so I had some idea of
Okay.
what it was.
Yeah.
I had never seen it done in person. It had always been done on television.
Right.
But so my sophomore year, I went out with her and other folks from the team, talked to the coach, and said, "Hey, I would consider wanting to do this." And he says, "Well, okay, fine. Give it a try." And I went to Grambling High School, and it sits on a university campus, Grambling State University.
Mm.
Just so happens I go out there and there are folks from the college track team that are out there, including a couple of throwers.
Right.
A young man by the name of Jamar Evans taught me how to throw. And as I live and breathe, as I sit here, any success that I have had, whether it be coaching, whether it be successes in the ring, I owe it to him, believe it or not, because he was so understanding and patient with me and teaching me how to throw, and taught me some very sound fundamentals at I say a fairly young age. 15 is, I mean,
Yeah.
I was just starting at 15, but at a fairly young age, and he helped me to develop my love for it. And like I said, if I were to see him today, I'd probably pull the wallet out of my purse and hand him that 20 that's in there
Well,
as
so
a repayment.
so he was an athlete on the Grambling team, not a
Yes, he
coach.
was an athlete. He was an
Wow.
athlete on Grambling State's team because we were out there, and I probably will get in trouble for it, but that's okay. It was back in
Yeah.
1950.
The statute of
Somebody,
limitations. It's over. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's way
Yeah.
over it. But nonetheless, he was out there, and he was under no obligation whatsoever to teach
Right.
us anything. Our track coach, his name was Jim Smith. He was a science teacher, amazing math teacher. Love him to pieces too. He was stressed thin. He was, watching the kids run over here, watching the kids hurdle over there, watching the kids
Hmm.
jump over here, high jump, and all of that other stuff. So, he drove the bus and everything else. Had keys to the janitor's closet, whole 9 yards. So he was just trying to keep everybody from being hurt.
Hmm.
And like I said, Jamar and the other folks on the team, they had no obligation
Wow.
whatsoever to teach us anything, but they took us under their wings, and taught us how to throw. And I'm like I said, I'm forever grateful.
Did
And
he? Do you
from
know? Did he go on to become a coach? Do you know?
No, he didn't. Jamar had I shush, I can't remember. He I know he once he graduated, I think he went away,
Okay.
like way, way away.
Hmm.
Way, way away. But he I don't think he ever coached.
Wow.
I don't think he ever coached.
I bet you, a guy like that. So that's a lot of selflessness,
Mhm.
a lot of
Yeah.
like innate teaching and helping other, like servant
Mhm.
leadership. That guy, I
Yeah.
guarantee you, he went on to be a teacher, at the very worst,
Um,
a really good father. Like,
yes.
wow. Hey, if anybody knows Jamar Evans, went to Grambling State. If you know him, you've got to tag Auntie Throw Something, tag me. We gotta. I mean, come on. We gotta thank people that we don't get a chance to say thank you in the moment that it happened. So we gotta. The internet is famous for this. I challenge
Right.
you. We're on a hunt. Let's go find Jamar Evans from Grambling State, man. I want to find this out. Well, that's awesome. So
Amazing.
so
Yeah.
how was it when you first get out there? I'm gonna call you a basketball player by trade up to this point. You get out there. Do you remember that first time you put a shot or a discus in your hand and let it fly?
Well, I'm an overanalyzer. So I sit back and observe. Yes, yes. I sit back and observe a little bit before I just, jump in there and try to do something. So I watched, just to kind of get an idea of what does this look like? How are they pushing?
Hmm.
Is it whatever case is, what are they using in order to push? How do you hold it correctly? And I don't think it took me very long before I kind of got the hang of, what was the correct release, what was the correct movement through the ring. And I think that was one of the reasons why Jamar kind of took that time with me to teach me, because I had an interest in it. Like, yeah, I think this might be what I want to do. It was something about stepping in the ring and being there by myself.
Mm.
And I say this is with all the love in the world, but Auntie's not a team player. No, I'm
We're,
not.
we're,
I'm not
we're
just.
gonna we're gonna learn that's not true, actually. But okay, in this case, you like that you kind of step into your arena, that circle, and
Oh
it's you,
yeah,
no one else here.
yeah. I don't have to worry about nobody putting me in the game.
Hmm.
I don't have to
Hmm.
worry about nobody passing me the
Hmm.
ball.
Hmm.
I don't have to worry about nobody sweating all over me and
Hmm.
all that stuff. No,
Hmm.
it's me in the ring, and that unlocked something in me. Uh, to be really curious about the event or about the sport,
Hmm.
to be really inquisitive and want to study it, and all of that. And of course, back then, we didn't have a fraction of the resources that kids have now. We
Right.
didn't have Twitter and YouTube and all of these
Hmm.
other things. We had beta tapes,
Hmm.
if you could find them,
Right.
and the player to play them on.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it sparked something in me, and there were times when practice was over with and I'd still be out there trying to figure it out.
Hmm.
I wasn't really good at it,
Hmm.
but I liked it like a lot. Yeah.
Was it, I get this, the way you're describing that, this like vision of
Mhm.
like this, this singular warrior who steps into that arena. I said that earlier, that circle, right? And there's no one else that can help you. There's no one
Right.
else that can hinder you. It is, if you throw 3 feet, well, that's on you. If you throw 300 feet, that is on
Right.
you, right?
Right.
There's no blame in the offensive line blocking for you.
Right.
It's all you. What did
Right.
what about, like, do you remember the first time? Because and I wasn't a thrower, but I kind of think of the hurdles. I did some hurdling back in the day, and I remember, the
Mhm.
first time I did the hurdles, it was ugly and wasn't very good. Now the sad part with me, the last time I did hurdles, it still was ugly and not very good. But I remember kind of the first time, like, I went over the hurdles and like, oh, this is more of what it felt like. Like, now I'm a
Mhm.
hurdler, right? Do you remember the
Mhm.
first time in high school, that you let the shot or the discus go and it kind of went a little farther than it normally did, that feeling, do you remember that at all at this point?
Yes. So the young lady that was on the team, I will not say her name 'cause she mad. The young lady that was on the team, she had been a thrower, I think, for a couple of years. If I'm not mistaken, she was like a junior or a senior at the time. So she had been a thrower for a couple of years, and we were having to share shoes, believe it or not. This was back in the day when we had the old Zoom glides. Remember the Zoom glides with
Yes.
the flat toe?
Yep.
Yeah. So we were sharing shoes or whatever cases. We were at a meet, and I she had taken off the shoes, given them to me so I could throw. And I got in the ring and I threw further than she did. And needless to say, that was a little contentious there for a minute.
She became, actually, she's on Twitter right now. It's called Auntie Get Your Own Freaking Shoes is what she goes by at that point.
So that was a little interesting. It had gone just a little further there. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, well, maybe I'm not so bad at this because of course, I balanced the fact that I just started. I'm 15. I'm just starting this, and she had been doing it for a couple of years. And I'm like, well, maybe I might not be so bad.
Hmm.
So it was the first throw, which was an improvement beyond what I was used to seeing people on my team be who had won in the past. And I, kind of figured like, okay, well, maybe this is something I want to do. And as the meets went by and I started to win more, of course, it took off after that point.
Hmm. Now, we're in Louisiana, right? Because you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned Grambling State. Uh,
Yes.
did you throw the javelin at all, or just the shot and discus?
Well, I did not throw javelin in high school. I don't
Okay,
even think we owned a javelin. It was
sure.
probably a good idea that we didn't because Coach Smith was like between 17 events at one
Right.
time. Just trying, chicken with his head cut off, just,
Yeah.
kind of walking in circles, just making certain nobody hurt themselves during
Yeah.
practice. That was his whole deal. From 3 to 5, please just don't get hurt,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
I,
So,
I love that you're explaining that Jim Smith, because, and I love that his name is Jim Smith, because, all across America, there are
mhm,
Jim Smiths coaching high
mhm,
school track, and we
yes.
get, and it's easy, especially if you're at any kind of level of coaching
Mhm,
or in track and field, it's easy to pass judgment on coaches that don't do X or
mhm,
don't do Y. And it's like, you know what?
mhm.
Do you know how many Jim Smiths? They're the only coach on their program. Maybe
Yeah,
they came from a distance background, and guess what? They're responsible for throwers, or the opposite.
right.
My head high school coach was a throws coach. He had
Mhm.
no idea what to do with sprinters, jumpers,
Yeah,
distance runners. So it's the exact opposite. He knew what to do with those guys over there in the
right.
ring, but for us, he was like, I don't know, run a couple of do some quarter repeats or something. I don't know. It was terrible, right? So I
Don't
love
hurt
that.
yourself.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's exactly right. I'm not sure my coach actually cared about that part either, to be honest with you. But no. Shout out. Dennis Anderson was my high school coach. He's a fellow Troy alum. Love him to death. He did
Mhm,
an amazing job. And really, the most important part to me, Coach Anderson, because I know you're still out there, Big Daddy, is you instilled a love of track and field for me. He was
mhm.
also my football coach, and look what track
Awesome.
has done for me personally. I owe it all
Right,
to track. And
right,
so, Dennis Anderson, love you to death, man. But I
right.
love that description of Jim Smith, because I mean that might be the most common coach out there, is
Yes.
that guy or gal that is just trying to keep it together and is allowing people to
Mhm.
have experiences where if they
Yes,
quit, there would be no track team, if they
right.
didn't do it. So,
Absolutely.
love that example. So at this point in high school, as you
Mhm.
go through your senior year, do you have an affinity for one throw over the other, or you feel like, yep, I'm a shot putter who also throws discus, or I'm a discus thrower who has to throw the shot?
I am a discus thrower who just is
Yeah.
I'm just forced to throw a shot. I was
Yeah.
forced.
All right.
I am a discus thrower through and through. I was talking to somebody on Twitter and was at a couple days ago or maybe last week. Every fiber of my being, every cell in my body has a connection to the discus. Once I put it in my hand, it's like every cell in my body responds. It's you've seen those movies where like the nanobots like grow over something and it make it. Yeah, that's how when I put a discus in my hand, that's how it feels for me. And the
Wow.
rhythm of the throw plays in my brain almost almost 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times a day.
I mean, I don't want to say you have to change your Twitter handle, but you are anti-throw something, which means anything, not
Right.
anti-throw the discus more. I mean, just saying. Although we're going to
Yeah.
get to, and we don't talk training here, but I can't. We will not be able to get through this conversation without mentioning pool noodles. So we'll get
Yes.
there. Yeah. I assume that's discus.
It is.
Oh, okay.
It can be shot too.
Oh,
Believe it or
okay. All
not,
right. So I
it
thought
can
I
be
just.
hammered too.
Oh, see, okay. I'm glad it
Oh yeah.
wasn't. Okay, I was because I'll be the guy who puts my foot in my mouth talking throws, and I'll have every thrower right now tweeting me like, "What were you talking about, Mike? Stick to the sprints,
Yeah.
slow boy." No, you call me speed boy, just slow boy over in the sprints. Okay, so talk us through high school. How'd the rest of high school go,
Okay.
and what were you as you start getting into senior year? Recruiting for colleges. Let's start with that point. So, how's the rest of high school go, and what's recruiting looking like as far as do you even think about college?
Well, yes. Interestingly enough, in the little small area or small community where I grew up, I think at one time Lincoln Parish, which is a small parish in Louisiana, had the lowest unemployment rate I know of maybe any of the other
Wow.
parishes in Louisiana and possibly of several counties in the country. Because within a 35-mile radius, there are three major universities:
Oh,
Grambling State University, Louisiana Tech University, and Northeast Louisiana University, or University of Louisiana at Monroe, which is what it's named
right,
now.
right.
So it was not a matter of if you were going to college, it was where you were
Hmm.
going to college.
Yeah.
I come from I say, very educated family, or a family that values education. I believe of the 11 aunts and uncles that I had from my grandmother and grandfather, only maybe two or three of them didn't go.
Wow.
Doctorates in education, masters in education, doctorates in nursing, the whole nine yards. We value education.
So,
From what
it
I
was an
understand,
expectation.
it was an expectation.
Yeah.
From what I understand, my grandfather vied for the presidency of Grambling State back in the late 50s. So
What?
no, early, mid late 40s, 30s,
Wow.
40s,
Yeah. We
40s,
don't
something like
worry. No one's gonna bio check you and be like, "Well, Grandpa would have only been." Yeah, we're good. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, somewhere
Wow.
up in there. Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was expectation. Grandmother had college degree. Mom had two. Dad's got one. It's just it's one of those things. So when I believe it or not, all 3 years, and again, I went to small. I'm from a small town. I think we were 2A at the time, maybe 1A, 2A at the time, as far as the size of the school is concerned. I went to state all 3 years that I competed. Um, so I was district champ all 3 years, regional champ all 3 years, and went to state. I can't remember if I ever placed top 10, because I think only top three got medals or something like
Hmm.
that. So I know I didn't come home with a medal. So, but
Hmm.
still, I made it. We were state champions. Our team won state championship with, I believe, six girls back in 1992.
Wow.
And we were in place to win it in 1993, until one of our 4x4 meter runners was walking around talking to a boy instead of going down to the line
Ouch.
to check in.
Well, hold on. Jim Smith is becoming much more intriguing to me, by the way. You're telling me Jim Smith keep everybody safe and running around. I think you said with his like a chicken with his head cut off. He
Mhm.
coached a state championship team in
Did.
'92. Get out of here, man. Jim
He did.
Smith. Do you still talk to Coach Smith? Is he still
I talked to him. I want to say it was last year. I talked to
dude?
him briefly last year.
Is he still
Uh,
coaching?
No, he's not coaching anymore. He's retired from teaching and coaching. But
Dude.
I know there are folks that are close to home that kind of keep in touch with him.
Yeah.
I think he and some of the older folks in the area kind of go to there's a cafe somewhere down that area,
Yeah.
or close to home, where they kind of hang out on Sunday mornings. So
Shout out Jim
10
Smith,
minutes in.
man.
Yeah,
Good
let me tell you, he
lord.
was a bad dude. He was a
Yeah.
bad guy. Really,
Yeah.
really nice guy. And just a point of reference, Grambling is majority African American
Mhm.
town. Jim Smith was a white guy, and he loved us as if we were his own.
Oh man,
And
I love that.
I think he was he the only white teacher we had? I want to say he was the only Caucasian teacher we had, but
Wow.
it didn't matter. It didn't. And he
Yeah.
was a whiz, insanely intelligent man. Taught me physics and calculus too. I don't
Well,
know how I
see,
passed his class, but I
with the
did.
expectations you had, that makes sense because, we were my family. We were the exact opposite. In fact,
Mhm.
for the longest time, we spelt physics with an F. That's also it's also it's also the grade I got in physics and math was an F. So, uh, we're dealing with two different educational systems here. Or I shouldn't say systems. I'm sure there were smart people in my school, but let me tell you what, the priorities were not there. So
Yeah.
you're talking about regional champ, going to state, which that's a big
Mhm.
deal. I mean, that's
Yeah.
amazing. What kind
Yeah.
of PRs are you throwing? And did you make it to state in both of them, or just the discus because you're a discus thrower first?
I made it in both, believe it or not, but I was not a very good shot putter. I was not a very good discus thrower, particularly in comparison to these Texas girls. I don't know what they feeding these kids down here, but these kids are ready for the Olympics
Mm-hmm.
basically right now.
Mm-hmm.
They can walk on to any university's team and score points immediately for most of the conferences around the nation.
Mm-hmm.
But I really wasn't all that good of a thrower. I don't even think I did. I crack 120 in discus. Maybe I cracked 120 in discus. Maybe 34, 35 in shot. I just wasn't that good.
Right.
You know, coming out of high school. No, did I? I don't even think I cracked 120 in discus. I don't think I did. So,
As you get older, your marks are supposed to get better. So at this age, you're supposed to be like, yeah, I was like 170, I think. I can't
oh
remember.
no, no, I was not good. I was good enough for where I was. Oh yeah, I was bomb for where I was, but
Hey,
no,
there
I
wasn't no
wasn't all that
mile
great.
split and die stat back then, so we can't check you if you said you threw 160. Like, yeah, she
You
must
know,
have.
164. Yeah, but no, once I graduated high school, I knew I did want to throw, or actually, coming up to graduation. Actually, I had, I could have taken two tracks. In addition to my family being, big time in education, we're also big time in the music, and not recording. Even though my mom, believe it or not, sang on Motown. Yeah, yeah.
Wait,
I know. It's like,
you're like that guy. Yeah, yeah. You're like that guy from the I think is it Heineken, the most interesting man in the world. You're the most interesting woman in the world here. Mom sang on Motown,
you
classic
did.
by the way. I mean, come
You did.
on. Like you didn't name some label that I'm like supposed to know of and I really don't hear about.
No,
Motown, baby. Wow.
yeah,
Dude.
yeah. So yeah, and actually, we lived in Detroit before we moved back to the South in the late
Mm,
'80s. So
okay.
yeah, mom was mom sang on town, but I played in the band in high school.
Hmm.
Also, I was a
Yeah,
drum
yeah.
major in band, played tenor saxophone, whole nine yards, and of course, we're talking about Grambling State University, the
Mm,
world fame. They will know my name. We are the world fame.
hmm.
Who does not want to be a part of? I mean, even
So
there,
true.
there are people who've never played an instrument who just want to carry their water bottles.
Hmm. Hmm.
In addition to having a family that was rich in history with Grambling State, having cousins who
Hmm.
were in the music department at Grambling State, cousins who were band directors, the whole nine. If that, I could have taken either track. I could have tried to get a music scholarship and play in the band, or I could have done track and field. But I chose to attend Northeast Louisiana University,
Hmm.
um, because I knew that I wanted to have some type of degree in the medical field. I wasn't sure what. I wanted to wear a white lab coat, and I wanted to carry a clipboard, walk really fast, and look important.
You know
That's
that
what I wanted
you also just described like a crazy track coach right there.
to. I
Walks
know.
walks around in a white coat, has his board.
I feel like it just so
Was what so music or medical and track and field was coaching at all in your mind at this part?
no,
Yeah.
it
Hmm.
wasn't. It wasn't, and at that age, we're just trying to get through day by day, trying
Hmm.
to figure out who we want to be in life, whatever case is, the stresses of being a graduate, and am I
Hmm.
gonna, be okay when I get to college, and I'm gonna go out there and be crazy and do
Hmm.
something wild. So it never crossed my mind until 1994.
Hmm.
uh, After that first year, oh, I just gave away my age. Oh, I graduated in 1993, y'all,
Hmm.
from high school.
Hmm.
Okay. So Auntie's a little old. Just get over it.
Hey,
But anyhow,
I graduated one whole year after you, by the way.
woo, look at
Yeah, yeah,
you.
yeah. And I'm not
Hey,
old.
it won't be too long before we can get that discount,
You know
that
what's
10% senior discount. I'm waiting on that. I
if
just want
you've
you to know.
listened to this podcast before, you know exactly what I'm about to say to Auntie here. Auntie, we're 45, 46, we're in that age, right? That realm right there. Here's the coolest part about this. You and
Uh-huh.
we are barely, maybe not even at halftime yet.
Uh-huh. That's right.
We still have
That's right.
decades left to influence other people positively and help the world.
Sure
So
do.
to get that, that's why when you're like, we're old, I'm like, I ain't old. I've only been a professional working since, we'll call it 23, right? So what's that, 22
Mhm,
years? I'm going to
mhm.
work at least 20 more years.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm barely at halftime affecting people positively. And that is 100% true with you as well. So
Well,
this,
you know
this
what?
old stuff, it's out the door,
Oh, well,
out the
thank
door,
you.
out the door.
Thank you.
So
My bones say different, but go
yeah,
ahead.
well, no, no, no. I didn't say our yeah, because if you could see below, I'm wearing a boot today. Yeah, I'm
Mhm.
injured. I'm so old. Everybody around work's like, oh, what happened? And I'm like, yeah, I'm old. You'll get there one day. It just happens. Just happens. I'll have to put on Twitter. Actually, what I'll have to remind myself is after we publish, if you're listening to this now on the podcast, go to Twitter. I'll have to publish the picture of my heel and the Achilles and what's going on and why I'm hobbling and I hobble a lot. So, um,
Oh,
so you went
man.
to Northeast Louisiana. Is that and is
Mhm.
that now ULM? Is that Monroe?
It is ULM now,
Gotcha.
yes.
Is or was the Warhawks? I'm not sure if they still are.
We are the
Yep. Got it.
Warhawks. We were the Indians back in the day until,
Gotcha.
NCAA made the ruling that we changed
That's
names.
what I
But
couldn't remember.
mhm,
Yeah. Okay. Right. Right. Right.
yeah,
Right. So what did
yeah.
you do? Music, medical, general studies. What did you end up doing? Yeah, actually, your family would not have. It sounds like your family would not have
Oh no, you better
jived
pick a
with general
major.
stuff. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
You better
Yeah.
pick a major, hot dog. It's
So
too much going on. You better pick.
what'd you go with?
Well, believe it or not, I actually went with nursing. I changed my major 3 times.
Okay.
I came in, with stars in my eyes and glitter in my eyes, thinking I wanted to be a physician.
Hmm.
Because when I was a little girl, I was the little girl that ran around the neighborhood on her bike, or rode around the neighborhood on her bike with band-aids in her basket.
Oh.
That was me. Yeah.
For
So
your own skin needs or to help others?
to help others, believe it or
Oh.
not. And I was
Yeah.
also the neighborhood dentist if there were little kids in the neighborhood.
Look, I got two kids, 11 and 8, and if anybody comes up and goes, "Hey, yeah, your son's walking around acting like the dentist," I'll be like, "Oh, we're in trouble. This is going to come up in the next HOA meeting, I assume." Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, all right. Whew.
Yeah,
All right.
if your tooth was loose in the neighborhood, hey, I had you. I got you. I didn't even charge no copay. It was good. It was
Auntie throw
good.
something will help you throw the discus far and tooth extraction. It's amazing.
A
It's full
tooth
service. Full service.
extraction, full service. I wash all my instruments, all of them.
So you land on nursing.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Landed on nursing. Changed from biology to pharmacy. At that time, the pharmacy program was going through a transition. They moved from the registered pharmacy program to the doctorate, to the doctorate in pharmacy, or the PharmD. That added an extra semester, I think, to the curriculum.
Hmm.
And I was always under the impression if the curriculum said 4 years, I wanted to do it in 3 because I'm an overachiever like that. Yeah, and I was like, no, I'm not staying in school that long. So I ended up on nursing, and I'm sorry, Miss Adams, that you're hearing about it this way, but I really didn't want to be a nurse at first. But but my grandmother, believe it or not, was a nurse, and her sister was a nurse, and they had been in my ear for a long time about me going into nursing.
You,
Uh,
you
so that's what I
know,
did.
I hear and I see, like, I literally can see this. You driving, riding your bike around the
Mhm.
neighborhood. I picture the traditional basket in front of your
Yeah.
bike, and you got
Uh-huh.
band-aids and probably water and all this stuff. And I know, and we're gonna get to this here in a little while on the podcast. Your servant leadership to helping other people. You're so caring and things like that. You're going into nursing. Where does that come from? Is that you've already talked about your family and their educational aspirations. Were
Mhm.
they teachers and nurses as well? Where does that kind of caring for others attitude comes from?
Yes, my family is big time into community service.
Mm,
I'm gonna cry, but big time in the community service. Educators
mm,
from tip to toe,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
um, and just have always been involved in whatever part that they could do to uplift and be of service to their community. In fact, my mother, after we moved back to after we moved to Louisiana, after she moved back to Louisiana, she became very active in the church, playing piano.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she taught music when we lived in Detroit after she finished her singing career. She taught music in the Detroit public school system.
Hmm.
So teaching has always been a part of her, always.
Hmm.
And she came back and decided that she wanted to teach kids how to play piano. She wanted to teach anybody how to play piano. So that's what she did. Because she was a musician at the church, she would use the piano at the church to teach. There was another small one in the banquet hall in the back. She would use that one. There were community centers where she would go there and have her students meet her there to teach them how to play piano, because her whole deal was she saw there was a need in communities with churches. We didn't quite have that constant flow of musicians that was coming through, classically trained
Hmm.
pianists. And she had a double major in voice and piano, so she was a classic pianist. And could play and read anything. Oh my gosh, that one was amazing.
Wow.
So her whole deal was she did not want to just have the community. I don't want to say overrun, because there is a place for them, but community overrun with musicians that only played by ear.
Mm.
Reading music was very important to her,
Hmm.
and she wanted to, of course, teach others to read as well.
So,
So
does
she
this?
taught piano.
I was say, does this mean you are like an awesome piano player?
No, it does not. In fact, she asked me if I wanted to learn, and I told her no. I
And
know it
and this
breaks
is
my
where the
heart.
story, yeah, this is where the story goes down. Yeah, there's a rift between
Yes,
grandma and auntie. Yeah, yeah.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
so you're at Monroe, you're throwing
Mhm.
in the 120, 33 range out of high school. How does college career go for you throwing?
Oh my gosh. Well,
Is this where you throw 160? Oh, she froze up right when I said that. That must, I don't think that's a bad omen. We'll give her a second here before she pops back on.
hear me? Can you hear me?
There we
Woo,
go.
I can hear you. Okay.
You froze up right when I said, is that when you threw 160?
Yes, yes.
Oh
This
yeah,
is it. Woo, woo,
nice.
woo.
All right, let's hear
Okay,
it.
so here's the deal with that. I came in, like I said, I really wasn't all that good of a thrower. Not in comparison to their standards. I pretty much showed up at NLU's door like, "Hey, hi, my grades are good.
Hmm.
Can I like be on your team?" And they were like, "Okay, yeah, sure, go on over there somewhere. We'll throw some money at you." So they gave me a book scholarship. I think it was like 300 books.
Yeah.
It wasn't very much at all,
Hmm.
but I was excited, because somebody wanted me. So
Hmm.
I joined their team and was really, really excited just about the whole experience, and got there and took to the training like, just a moth to a flame. I was unfamiliar with what collegiate training looked like, but there was one thing about me for sure, and you can ask. I mean, I'll toot my horn only because others have said the same of me, but you're just not going to outwork me.
Hmm.
I'm sorry. You're not going to outrun me. You're not going to outlift me. You're not going to outwork me. I'm going to do whatever the heck it is that I needed to do, because I was not a very talented athlete, but I was going to bust my tail when it came to the training.
Hmm.
And I felt like if you work hard, there's something that you're supposed to have. It may not be everything that everybody else has, but it's something that's specifically for you.
Hmm.
So I worked really, really hard. I wasn't going to miss practice. I wasn't going to be late. I was always going to stay. I was going to be as inquisitive as I possibly could be. I was going to talk to the coach. I was going to find out how I could get better. I was coming to summer crap that we, kind of the throwers just kind of got together and did, because of course the school couldn't do anything.
Hmm.
So I was there, and through, I think I thought it was my freshman year, but my sophomore year, what happened? Something happened my freshman year. I can't remember, but my sophomore year, I placed in conference, and that was not expected.
Is this the were you Southland back then?
Southland, we were
Yep. Hmm.
Southland back then.
Yeah.
SLC,
Yeah.
found
Yeah.
love at the SLC. Yeah,
A heck of a football conference. So I was at
yeah.
Troy University, and our football
Uh-huh.
team back then was in Southland. So McNeese
Hmm.
State and Nichols, and I
Hmm.
think all the
Yeah,
Louisiana scored. Northwestern State, I
yeah,
think at that point. Yeah, it was a heck of a
yes,
football, but also the rest of the sports
yes,
were amazing.
yes.
Yeah. So you
Yeah.
scored as
So
a sophomore. That
I scored as a
sounds
sophomore.
like
I scored
was
every
kind of
year, sophomore, junior, senior year.
sounds like that might have been unexpected. I mean, a walk on, You just showed up at the
It was
doorstep, and then by sophomore year, you're scoring. I think every coach would take that.
it was very unexpected.
Wow.
It was
Yeah.
very unexpected. In fact, that whole experience kind of I don't want to say it put me on the map, but it kind of did put me on the
Hmm.
map a little bit.
Hmm.
Uh, after you asked me earlier about when I got into coaching. Actually, my after my freshman year in '94, I helped coach a little youth team that we had
Hmm.
there in Monroe, Louisiana. I can't remember I think it's Delta track and field, something,
Hmm.
whatever case it is, and kind of started coaching some of the babies that they had out there then, and really just kind of enjoyed it. But in addition to that, my mother doing all the things she did, she was also a Head Start teacher. So she taught 3 years and 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, and she used to say, if the baby doesn't love me, it's something wrong with the baby. She just had a way of connecting with little people. That was her thing. She could connect with little people, and I think she gave that to me. And if she did, or wherever it is that I learned it from, of course, it came from her. I I I'm I I love it to pieces.
Yeah.
That was just kind of one of those things. But back to my college career, like I said, after my sophomore year in placing, things just kind of, they skyrocketed past that point. I was firing on all cylinders, but by the same token, I was starting to enter nursing school,
Mm.
which is this is a very pivotal point
Right.
in all of this. Um, I got some pushback from the heads of the nursing department on whether or not I could continue in athletics and remain in nursing school.
Like you couldn't do both. You had to pick one or the other.
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
And
I feel like that would rub a person like you the wrong way.
oh, you can't tell
Like,
me no.
yeah, that's
No,
what I'm thinking.
no, you can't tell me no now. No, you just can't tell me no. But I I had a problem with that.
Mm.
Because first off, if it has not been done before, you can't tell me that it can't be done. It's just that somebody wasn't persistent in the questions that they asked.
Mm.
Somebody didn't push hard enough. One thing you know about Auntie can be a little pushy,
Mm.
just a little bit pushy. I'm gonna push the issue just a little bit because again, if it hasn't been done, it just means that we haven't explored all options to do it just yet.
Mm.
So got some pushback about matriculating through the nursing program while remaining in athletics. And basically my response was, well, until you give me a scholarship, I'm going to keep doing what I need to do.
Mm.
Uh, from what I understand, that argument about how athletes were treated in the nursing department reached some pretty high up levels in the university. And just so you know, you are looking at the very first graduate from the nursing program to remain in athletics in the school's history.
Wow. I, I'm always amazed at that because, as we go through life and we're at this age and stage of our lives, Auntie,
Mhm,
that we can be emboldened because of some of the things that we've done and we've
mhm.
noticed other people doing things right. But here you are as a what 21 year old.
Like 19.
Yeah. Oh, even young. Okay. Here you are as a 19-year-old, and you are able to, first of all, the confidence level. I mean, a lot of
Mhm.
19-year-olds, no judgment here, by the way. This is all, like I would be expect. If I was 19, I would have folded. But a 19-year-old being told, "Hey, you can't do both." Oh man, I guess I
Yeah,
better pick one or the other. And you were like, "Oh, wait. Until I fail at one or the other, maybe I can. I mean, let's do
right,
this and let's see what happens
right.
here." So, and I have to think again. We've talked a lot about the families, expectations of the
Mhm.
family members. I feel like it had to be that, like, oh, I've seen leadership from my mom and grandma and aunts and uncles. Like, no, we don't get
Mhm.
told no unless we fail. Like, let us fail. If we're gonna fail, we're gonna fail. But it's not
Right,
because I didn't try. Like
right.
that's amazing as a 19-year-old to be able to speak up and say, hey, no, let's go, let's try it. And let's see what happens, and then to actually do it. I mean, that's just icing on the cake there. It's a really amazing.
Yeah, it really was. But even the discussions that I had with mom, she said, "Look, you're already playing so far behind the eight ball because they don't think that you can do it." She said, even your coaches are kind of questioning whether or not you can do it. You have an obligation now to prove everybody wrong. And this is another thing she told me some several years ago. She says, never give people a reason to tell you no. And if they do, you want them to have many sleepless nights about it.
Oh, I like
No, no,
that.
no, no, and seriously, you have to be on your P's and Q's. You have to, get to the point where anything anyone is asking of you within reason, you're going to make your absolute best attempt to be the best at it possible.
Hmm.
And because of how well I had done, likely in that last year, my coaches vouched for me.
Hmm.
Other persons, higher up officials at the university vouched for me. So the department had to do things that were unusual. They had to videotape my classes because there were some things that the nursing department would not allow me to miss. They would have to videotape my classes so that I could watch them when I got back. So when I got back, I made time to go to the nursing department or the nursing school in one of the classrooms and sit there and watch my classes on VCR.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that I could be up to speed. And
Wow.
so that's what I did. In fact, when it came to training, because the when I got to clinicals, our clinicals started at 7 in the morning. They wouldn't end until 7 in the evening.
Hmm. Hmm.
Well, practices from 3 to 5 or 3 to 4:30. I was missing practice. No, my coach, who didn't have to do this at all. My coach got up at 4:30 in the morning and drove to the stadium and took the lights from his truck and shined the lights from his truck on the discus sector, and I would throw it 4:30 and 5 o'clock in the morning so that I
Wow.
could get back on campus and take a shower
Th-
and go to clinicals every day.
This seems like a good time to give Coach a shout out. Who's coaching you
Oh,
there at?
Dave Estes.
Okay. Yeah.
He is the man. Do you hear me? The man. He was my teammate there for a moment, and then he became graduate assistant, and graduated and stayed on for the coaching staff. Amazing. He has a brother named Dave. That's my brother. That's my dude.
Wow.
Amazing. He didn't have to do that for me
Yeah.
at all. You gonna
Yeah.
make me cry? He did not
Yeah.
have to do that for me, but his my success was so important. My success both on and off the field were so important to him that he took time out of his personal schedule to do that for me. I'm
So
forever
I'm
grateful.
going to tie this together, Auntie, because you started this off by saying, "Oh, yeah, I'm a show filler. I don't even know why I'm here." But look at what this coach, and you had many other influences, professors
Mhm,
and teachers, and of course your family is a big influence here.
mhm.
But Dave Estes, he could also say that same thing. Well,
I'm sorry, Greg
that's
Estes. Greg Estes.
oh,
Greg
okay.
Estes.
I
When I
wore
say
you
Dave,
said
Dave's
you
the
said he had a
brother.
brother Dave, and I was like, was that
Yeah,
like
yeah. Greg Estes.
remember that
He's
show
the
back in the days, like my brother Daryl, my other brother Daryl? I was like, maybe this is my brother
sorry,
Dave and my
Greg.
other brother Dave. All right, Greg. All right.
Greg Estes.
Greg
Yes.
is listening right now, going, my brother is taking credit again. Dang it. So Greg, here's Greg,
Mhm.
a GA doing this, didn't have to get up that early in the morning, and look at the influence he made. Like, see,
Oh
this is the
man.
thing that's important to me is so Greg could have thought his job doesn't matter. He's helping this person. Oh, he's a nice guy, but I'm not really doing anything because I'm at Northeast Louisiana. Blah blah blah. Right, all that kind of bad self speak. Right, but instead, Greg, not Dave.
Greg.
Quit
Not
taking all
Greg.
the credit, Dave.
I
Greg
know.
worked with you and helped
Mhm.
continue to blossom and instill the love of track field, specifically the
Yes.
throws. And look now, it's helped you, and you help so many young people. Like
Yeah.
Greg's influence is amplified because of, and I'm sure
Yes.
Greg worked with other people that same thing. That's why
Mhm.
it's bullcrap. It's bad speak to say, "Oh, what am I doing here? I'm not worthy enough to be on a podcast." Blah blah blah. No, no, no. You are 100% worthy. You are
Oh,
just as
thank you.
worthy as any of the quote unquote big names that we've
Thank
had
you.
on here before. You are 100% worthy. I'm glad you brought up Greg because as soon as you're saying that, I was like, oh, look what Greg did. Greg continued to
Well,
pour into you, and look at his influence now because of you. I love it.
and if I ever had a question, Greg and Dave are right there. But there's,
Not Dave. Dave takes too much credit. This is all Greg.
but there are you see me, you see my face in here, but behind me,
Hmm.
and supporting me and holding me up is a long list of people who all have their hand on me in some way or another. And I cannot tell you how grateful I am for that.
And
I'm so grateful.
I love that imagery because the beautiful part of it is in front of you are people that you have your hand on that you're influencing
Yes.
to do good and help others, whether it's in track or they go on to
Yes.
be doctors, lawyers, business owners, etc. That's the cool part of that picture is it's a long
Yeah.
line
It's
people
wonderful.
behind you that have poured into you, and that people in front of
Mhm.
you that you've poured into. So
Yes.
where do we go? You get this nursing degree, which is no easy feat, by the way. Um, do you go into nursing? Do you go into coaching? Where does track kind of continue once you finish school at Northeast Louisiana?
Well, once I graduated, I hung around Louisiana for a while, and then decided to move to Western Louisiana, aka Texas. It's just right down I-20. It's right down I-20. And and decided to come out here for work. But while I was here, my myo coach, Greg, dang it, Dave.
Dang it, Dave! God,
No, Greg's gonna be so mad. Like, dang
Greg is
all that stuff I did for
so
you, and I ain't the
mad.
first name come out your mouth. I should be the first name.
Greg's gonna get on Twitter and just have a list of grievances of things that Dave has taken credit for. Yeah, yeah.
But Greg called Dave Woolman
Hmm.
and said,
Legend.
"Hey, a legend! Oh my gosh, legend!" And what's bad is I didn't realize the opportunity that I had at the
Hmm.
time.
Hmm.
So when I got out here, whatever case is, I was like, okay, well, you know what? I may, Greg put in a really good word for me because Dave Woolman is not going. You can't be just anybody. You know, even back then. I mean, he was producing Terry Tunks
Terry
and
Tonks.
yeah,
Yeah.
Terry Steer and what was her name? Florence, the girl from France who was the
Hmm.
big time hammer thrower.
Hmm.
Just Jason Tunks. I mean, everybody was coming through there, and they were
Hmm.
all superstars.
Hmm.
Superstars. Plus, he had some legendary, folks that coached even prior to them.
Hmm.
So the fact that he allowed me to come and train with them for a short while, I should have been way more honored and appreciative of it than what I was at the time. But of course, I was young, I was single, I was free, I had a college degree, and I was working and all that stuff. So I really let work get in the way. But I started adulting pretty hard at that point, and really got to work immersed in my work because I had no other obligations. There was nothing wrong with pulling heavy and long work weeks. Plus, the money was really good. So my training fell off, and I just decided I'm just going to rock it out as a nurse and work in emergency rooms and stuff. So that's what I did.
It's not a bad
And
alternative, by the way. So instead
yeah,
of slinging a 1K, 2.2 pound plate around, I'm gonna go help save lives and make people's lives
yeah, I'll
better.
just
Whatevs,
pump some
whatevs. Yeah,
chests.
yeah.
Yeah, no big deal, no big deal.
Oh, I'm
No
sorry.
big deal.
Since you did that, I got to tell a story. My wife told me that this morning. So she's a fitness instructor along with
Mhm,
many, many other things, and she had to go do a CPR class. And so she told me
mhm,
this morning she was in CPR class a week or so ago, and next to her, her kind of partner was a yoga
mhm.
instructor. And I
Uh-huh.
guess I've never taken CPR, but I guess you have to press the chest cavity. Maybe there's like a clicking button, like because you have to press it.
Yes.
I don't want to say fairly
Mhm.
hard because I have no idea, but you
Right.
have to. You can't just tap it, right? You got to.
Right.
And so the yoga instructor was like, like tap, tap. And she goes, the yoga instructor looked at my wife and said, boy, I sure hope they get the fitness instructor if they go down because the yoga instructor ain't going to be any help here. Sorry.
Yeah, you got to put the right pressure
Yeah,
on there. There's
completely
definitely right.
unrelated story. I just had to give that out there because the only CPR I know is from The Office, and the show and the song. Staying alive. That's the only thing
Yes.
I might be able to save someone, all because of Michael Scott and the show The Office. That's the only reason
Well, let
I
me tell you,
might.
actually, that worked for years. That's what we used to teach back in the day because
Nice.
I
See,
taught
The Office
CPR.
saves lives. I love it.
It does. It does.
So you go on to be this, I mean, it truly in real life superhero here. I mean, nurses and doctors and firefighters, God bless y'all. You
Mhm.
are the true superheroes. We started this with an origin story, but you're the whole MCU here is nurses and doctors and such. So thankful for the men and women who choose that profession.
Yes.
Where as you get into, you kind of I like that you had the self awareness of like, all right, Dave, this ain't work. I'm wasting your time, whatever.
Uh,
Where is track? Do you go for a while into a career and track just as a back burner now, or do you stay involved in some form or fashion?
when I tell you, I had the longest hiatus from it, if that's the right word. I don't know. Auntie don't word too good sometimes. I had the,
It is SUMTHIN, by the way, not. Yeah, yeah.
SUMTHIN.
So yeah, yeah, I get it. I get it.
Yeah. yeah, figure it out. but but I had the longest break. I mean, when I tell you a long break, I mean a really
Hmm.
really long break until my oldest boy joined a track team.
Mm. That's called motivation.
Yes,
Hmm.
and my oldest boy, he's a tall, lean kid or whatever case he's even at his age. I think he was six at the time. And we had put him on this track team, and so I knew, well, if it had anything to do with running, Mama wasn't gonna do it. So me and the youngest little something, we would walk around the track. So I'm chasing the youngest little something around the track while the oldest little something is, doing his thing over here,
Hmm.
or whatever. And of course, I walk across, and there are some kids out at a shot and discus ring.
Hmm.
And all of a sudden, the rhythm, remember that rhythm? It started playing in my head like, "Hmm,
Mm.
so let me go on over here and see what's happening." So,
I,
of
I,
course,
I
because
I have
I
this
don't know.
image of like the person who was addicted to drugs who cleaned themselves up, but then is
Uh,
confronted. You're just, oh man, we can hold on.
it's,
There's kids and discuses and shots. Let's
I,
go.
I can't stay away. I can't.
That's a terrible analogy I just made, by the way. I'm so
That was
sorry
horrible.
because
It
that's not
was
a
so
great,
bad.
yeah,
That was
no light
so
of
bad.
people who
You
have substance abuse
know
problems.
what?
Uh,
It's the person who likes cake.
oh, well, see, I never stopped liking cake, so I don't know how to get back into it. I'm always into it, man. Come on.
Right, the person who likes cake, and you just started on this, what is that, this 21 days something or another, and to try to stay away from the sugar, and it's just
21 day of eating
oh,
cakes. I'm down with that. Uh,
golly, golly.
so you
But
see the kids in the
yes,
circle, and you like, does it just like
yes,
this rekindling? Like, does your heart just start burning of like, oh, wait a minute, this,
it
I
was
know this, I love this.
it was there's something about the smell of fresh cut sector grass. I don't care where else you cut the grass, but when you cut the grass in the sector, that smell is just all up in your nose. Just, oh, it was there, and the feelings, and then my heart
Hmm.
started to kind of pound, and my skin started to tingle, and I was like, oh, okay, so let me just walk over here and get a little closer, and let's just want to see what's going on. And there were these kiddos, and they were over there practicing, and one of them called the shot a ball, and it was like nails on the chalkboard. I was like, okay, nomenclature. We need to get the terminology right. Of course, I start trying to fix stuff. I'm trying to fix stuff. So I just sat there and I just watched for a little bit. And then I kind of made my way around the track and outside to the ring. I was like, I just want to watch and see what y'all are doing. They said, well, we're over here, we're working on our technique and we're throwing. I was like, okay, so what you got there? Well, I got this ball, and then we're doing the shot put. Okay, cool. I said, how long you been doing? Oh, we just started because it's summer track, blah, 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 this and that. I said, can I see it for a minute? They said, do you know how to throw? I was like, nah, probably not. So I get in the ring and I throw, and they were like, oh my God,
Oh
how
yeah,
far was that? And it was like 24 feet. And they were
they,
like, oh my
yeah,
God, that's
they think they just saw an Olympian. They were like,
oh my
holy
God.
crap. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It
Hmm.
was, I had fans, just
Hmm.
fans all around me, all these little kids fans. I was like, maybe if y'all knew how horrible it was. It was so bad, but they were so excited, whatever,
Hmm.
to see somebody move
Yeah.
through the ring a certain way. Because I had a
Hmm.
horrible attempt at a glide with these bad knees. It was
Hmm.
brutal. But so I saw them or whatever case is, and of course I was coming out every day because of because my boy was
Hmm.
there, my oldest boy was there, and there was a parent that was over there the next time, because I think at the time he wasn't there because he had to work or whatever case is. But there was a parent that was there, and he was like, "Oh," he said, "so my kid told me that you were out here, whatever case is, and you know how to throw." He says, I could use some help, He said, because I'm not here time, I
Good
can't
for
be
him.
here with him every day. And I was like, okay, cool. So that's what I did.
Hmm.
I talked to the head coach of the organization. His name is Ray Elder. Shout out to Coach Ray. He's awesome.
Hmm.
Oh my God, he's awesome. But talked with him, and he said, "Yeah, I got no problem with you helping." And that's where all of this started. I got on that team. one of the kids that was on that team. And his father will say that I'm the reason, but that is not true. This kid was insanely strong and came with a skill set already of how to throw well. A kid who won 3 national titles, or I say national titles, but he was AAU champion, I think 3 times, USATF
Wow.
champion twice, if I'm not mistaken, as a 8-year-old, 9-year-old,
Wow.
So he was there, and I had another kiddo who did very well, and it was quickly identified that I had a pretty decent skill set of teaching little ones how to throw. So from there, it was, hey, can you do a clinic? Hey, can you teach mine?
Hmm.
Hey, will you show mine? And unfortunately, we found the same thing during youth and summer track that we see oftentimes at some of the high school meets with those schools who aren't as fortunate to have throws coaches. That it's the parents out there trying their best to
Hmm.
teach their kiddo how to throw. A lot of bad mechanics putting the kids and the spectators at risk.
Hmm.
So I started doing just parking lot clinics,
Hmm.
teaching kids how to hold it correctly, teaching kids how to release it correctly, not only to keep them interested, because once a kid sees that if they do something, it goes farther, they get really interested.
Hmm.
Also to try to maintain them little shoulders as much as I
Hmm.
could.
What
Yeah.
were you, as you're getting into this and
Mhm.
you find that you have a bend towards not only coaching the throwing events,
Mhm.
but really specific here, younger kids. That's a different set, I think, a different skill set than
Yes.
coaching high schoolers and collegiates and above. Um, so it takes a lot of patience, first of all, which that automatically strikes me
Ooh,
out. But
Lord.
what were you doing? Because you're not a, I don't know how to put this. You are a coach,
Uh-huh.
but you didn't come with 10 years of experience of coaching. You maybe had 10 years of being coached at that point.
Mhm.
Were you doing anything at that point for your own coaching education, whether it was USATF level 1 would have been big back then, books,
Mhm.
videos? You're now at the stage of where there's videos and stuff like that. We're not at YouTube, I don't think, so there's not that. But what are you doing, if anything, I mean, to be fair, to
Mhm.
help like become a better coach at that point?
Well, at because I had babies, I didn't really do much
Mhm.
of any additional study.
It's fair.
And that was kind of purposeful. At first, I was looking at some videos or whatever the case is to see, if things had changed, if,
Mhm.
because I was basically just going off of what I remembered in college.
Right, which Greg helped, not Dave. Right. Hmm.
Yes, Greg, I'm so sorry, bro. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Please tell Meredith I love her. Anyway, I was basically going off of what I remembered in
Hmm.
college.
Hmm.
And I pulled that down quite a bit because, of course, you have to teach according to your audience, teach
Hmm.
them a language that your audience understands. And I can't tell you how much I'm grateful that those parents trusted me for coaching their babies
Hmm.
or just giving their babies something to do
Hmm.
for those few hours that they were at track practice. Because that really, if anything, that probably enhanced my coaching skills more than
Hmm.
anything.
Hmm.
If you can relay how to perform separation to a 6-year-old,
Hmm.
then there's probably very few people in the world you can't coach. So,
I just think
so
I think you
go
called
ahead.
every other thrower, high school and college and pro, a 6-year-old. Just so you know.
Just saying,
But
I
I'm with you.
can.
It's quite possible what you're saying. That's it's possible for sure.
I,
So
I
keep
mean,
going.
I was. My mother gave me the ability to make it make sense.
Hmm.
She just gave that to me.
Yeah.
And I made it make sense to 6-year-olds
Right.
and 5-year-olds and
Hmm.
4-year-olds. I think my youngest something was 4 when he
Wow.
first started throwing. Yeah, so it was something about I knew there were concepts that I wanted kids to learn early because uh, nobody walks around in the positions to throw. separation, separation of the upper body from the lower body. We don't live on that plane
Hmm.
under no circumstances. I say circus acts. People who engage in circus acts are the only ones that contort themselves in such a manner that's even closely related to what we do during a throw. So I knew I wanted to, like I said, teach those concepts early. I just wanted to find a way that it made sense to the kiddos. So I just took what I knew from college, and like I said, really looked for ways to make it make sense to them. And fruit snacks, fruit snacks, fruit snacks, and juice boxes. Okay, you just got to keep it coming.
Now,
As
now
long as you can. Mhm.
that does work as you continue
Yes, it
along. High
does.
schoolers, collegiate,
Yes,
elites.
it
I
does.
guarantee you. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
got a
Fruit
college kid
snacks.
right now. As long as Coach Mary got the fruit snacks, we good.
Hey, that
Just
also
don't.
works for your friendly neighborhood equipment guy. Just so you know, if we're ever at a state meet and you got fruit snacks in a jukebox, I'm just
Mm,
gonna say
okay.
it also
Mm,
works for me as well. So,
okay, very good.
so keep us advancing here. You're working with really
Uh,
young kids, 4, 5, 6, 7,
yeah.
8, 9 kids. I
Mhm,
tried coaching summer track not even one summer, one
mhm.
quarter of a summer, and
Uh,
it's not in me. I am not that good of a person to coach young kids, and that was before I had kids. I have kids now, and I can't coach my own kids. I'm like, get out of here, go figure it out. So how did the coaching career continue advancing here?
Oh, it just it grew like wildfire
Hmm.
because after that one kiddo came back, I don't want to say his name because he's minor,
Hmm.
but the one kiddo came back and after he won and his and everybody's walking up to his dad going, "Hey, how did he throw so far?" And he's like, "You need to see that girl over there, that woman right there. She's the one." And I'm like, I didn't have nothing to do with it, but all of a sudden everybody started asking, "I want my kid to throw. I want my kid to learn how to do this. They can't run, but I know they can do something. Please, please, please." And that's how it all began for me. Really funny story. One of the little pumpkins that I helped coach throw, she has a little sister. I think at the time that little pumpkin was about maybe 6, 5, and her little sister was 4.
Oh wow.
And she's spunky and spicy and all points in between, just the cutest little old something in the world and very outspoken. And she walked up to me and she said, "What you doing out here?" This was when I first started. And I said,
Hmm.
"Well, I'm watching everybody throw this little round metal ball right here." Ball, I said ball
I
because of
was
course.
wondering. I was like, is she gonna say
Yeah.
ball? Okay, all right.
But anyhow, so I'm watching everybody throw this metal ball right. I said, and I used to do that a long time ago. And she said, "Oh, really?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "So are you going to coach?" And I said, "Well, I'm thinking about it a little bit. I just want to watch a little more and see what's going on." So as the days passed, she and her little sister, they come back out there again because they would finish their running workout first and then they would come over because there was some, they weren't big girls. They were, hey, them girls had some muscle on them, even at that age. So it's like, yeah, you'll do well here. So I'd get in the ring or whatever case is, and I would demonstrate to the other kids or whatever. And she put me off to the side. She said, "So you gonna show me how to throw this thing or what?" I said, "You know what, Pumpkin? I sure am. I'm gonna show you how to throw it." And I'll be darned, that little girl, she was a monster in the ring. Oh my
Wow.
gosh, she was a monster. Yes, her and her little sister. Just, but that moments like that, they just, oh,
Mm.
just pulled my heartstrings, captured my heart to pieces. And after that, I just had like this little row of ducklings that would walk behind me at the track meet,
Hmm.
small little babies. Oh my gosh. And they say, "Oh, there she is. There's Coach Mary and all her little babies." And they just be teetering behind me. Oh, and we'd be whipping tail left and right at these track meets. And folks just started asking questions like, I don't know what I need to do to get my kid on your team, but will you teach my kid to throw? And it got to the point where it didn't matter what team you were on because it's not important.
Mm.
Just teaching good mechanics and good basic technique was the thing that I wanted to do because I knew that once a kid saw themselves throw further than they had, it would pique their interest would
Hmm.
peak, and pretty much everything else would take care of itself past that point.
Did you advance this to like your own club, or did you stay with Ray Elder? Or what's the structure?
I stayed with that club,
Hmm.
and everybody was like, "Oh, you should break off and do your own thing." Oh, she
Hmm.
said, and I thought about it, and I thought about it, and I thought about it, but there were so many. There would have been so many administrative headaches
Hmm.
that were involved with that, and I don't like. I don't believe in stealing
Hmm.
other people's kids
Hmm.
from their teams. And I felt like had I done that, people would have been racing possibly
Hmm.
to get to my team.
Hmm.
And I knew it was just me. It was just me out there.
Right.
And instead of me breaking away, that's when the training the kiddos became training the kiddos and the coaches.
Mm.
So I had the coaches to come out to these little parking lot clinics too, and I'd say, "Hey, this is the way I teach it.
Hmm.
There are no secrets here."
Hmm.
Because at the end of the day, we're just trying to create an opportunity for a kid who would not have otherwise had it. So like I said, it went from training just the kids to training the coaches who were interested also, and that's what I did. As that grew, I started putting on my own throwing events or my own throwing meets,
Oh wow.
and I would host throws meets. Yeah.
Are you still just doing? I shouldn't say just. Are you still doing the shot and discus only, or have you added the hammer or the the famous jab? You weren't doing that in high school. Have you added those events, or sticking primarily to the two high school implements?
Actually, shot discus, and I dabble with hammer just a little bit
Hmm.
because at the time the club that I'm in now was considering going to the association that supports hammer. I won't say any names here, but this year I don't think we're going to do that. So my focus right now for the club kids that I have is shot discus and javelin.
Hmm. I also
But
get choked up talking about the hammer, so I get it if you need some water because the hammer is the best throwing event out there. Don't at me discus throwers, shot putters, javelin. I love javelin throwers too, but the hammer is, come on,
it
man.
really is.
It's like art. It really it's
Uh-huh.
amazing. It's my favorite. Um,
It is.
so now at this point,
Mhm,
especially as you're starting to introduce some events that you didn't do, so you don't have personal experience and
mhm.
coaching that happened to you to
Right.
draw back on any coaching education. And I don't even it doesn't have to necessarily be formal, like going and getting your
Mhm,
level one and those kind of things.
mhm.
Are you reaching out to Dave Woolman? Hey, Dave, I got to do this hammer thing. Help me out. Are you reaching out to
Yes.
other coaches? Yeah.
Yes. In fact, I was a regular at Coach Woman's clinics on
Nice.
Sunday.
Good.
Here I am, 46, 45, 46 years old in the darn ring, with a bunch of 14, 15, 16-year-old kids. And everybody's like, who's this old lady?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I was learning to throw because
Mm-hmm.
first off, I had reached back out to him after I saw him on Twitter and I was like, look, I want to apologize first off because I didn't realize, what I had when I was with you at the time. I said, now that I've ventured into coaching, I understand it. I understand and I appreciate what it was that you were willing to do for me.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, well, if you appreciate it so much, come on out to the clinic and see me. I was like, okay, cool. Well, I'm gonna come on out there. And so that's what I did. I started going to the clinics on Sunday. So not only was I getting back in the ring because for my 42nd, 43rd birthday, I believe it was, I bought discuses and a couple shots and some throwing shoes. And I was like, I'm going to get back in here and do this because I remember what the feeling was. And I was searching for that feeling. I missed it. And just, in the quest of trying to, get this mama weight off of me, because them something boys, they put it on me. But it was serious there for a minute. And I knew, running on a treadmill just wasn't my thing. I wanted to do something that I really enjoyed doing. So I got back out there and started throwing. And in the midst of that, because I looked absolutely like, you know what, I reached back out to Coach Woman and started going to those clinics. And Coach Woman, in his Coach Woman way, says, I have reason to believe you will probably throw farther now than what you did in college. And I'm like, show enough. He's like, yes, I think you can do it. And all you got to do is tell me I got potential and it's a wrap. So I started, like I said, I started training back with him again when I could. And even when I wasn't in the ring, I stuck close to him because he opens his clinic for those athletes who are attending his clinic. He opens those clinics for the coaches to attend.
Hmm.
So I went to him because I wanted to learn what he was telling people to make them do the things that they did, because he had such an amazing track record or history of producing champions. And I needed to know what them secrets were, and it weren't any secrets at all. It's just a matter of being available and present, and understanding how the body moves and understanding how to communicate to athletes who are all built differently. So
I
that's
love
what I learned. I would sit out there and just listen to him.
I love the mentorship that you're
Yeah.
expressing, Dave. I mean, because Dave is one of the top. He's a Mount Rushmore kind of coach when
Oh
you
my
come on,
gosh. Yeah.
and I love the example you gave there. I want to put words to it a little bit.
Mm.
And if you see this clip on YouTube or something, you got to go back and look at her face when she says that Coach Woolman was like, "Hey, I think you can throw farther now than you did as college," because that to me is one of the superpowers of great coaches, is the ones that, first of all, a lot of coaches see something in you as the athlete before you
Hmm.
can even see it.
Hmm.
There's another different, it's subtle, but there's another different level that the coach can inspire and make you feel that what they see in you, and you can feed off that coach's energy and be like, yeah, you know what, you're right, I can't see it yet, but I bet you I can throw farther now than when I was
Yeah.
like, that's a coaching superpower right there that you described from Coach Woolman.
Yes, it is. And I left there feeling like I could do anything.
Right.
I really did.
I
Until my
love it.
niece said, "No, ma'am.
Yeah.
No, ma'am, you cannot.
Yeah.
No, ma'am.
and,
Tone it down, ma'am.
and,
Tone it
and,
down, friend. You cannot."
and bad knees are the kryptonite to our superpower. So I'm with it. Yeah, yeah. Knees and backs. That's the two main focuses there.
Ooh.
So let's start
Yes,
transitioning.
indeed.
Because you
Okay.
already mentioned Twitter. We're talking
Hmm.
about some of the mentorship that Coach Woolman is putting into you, and you've already started what I would call your mentorship, your coaching of
Hmm.
other coaches. This is super interesting to me. While I love the value that coaches give to athletes, I am really hyper focused on coaches, like the people that are
Hmm.
coaches. That's why we have a whole podcast here for it, folks. Right? I'm really interested in coaches. So coaches who coach coaches. I mean, that's kind of like in the Matrix here. It's like what, who's
Hmm.
coaching who, right? You mentioned already about Twitter, and really the main, I won't say the main reason you're here, but one of the main reasons is that you and I connected through Twitter. And if you're a regular listener, you know that that is my social media of choice. I am on there
Right.
seemingly
Mhm.
24/7. And there's only a couple people that beat me in regards to not only quantity, but the type of post. And we've got it right here. Auntie throws something.
Oh my gosh, really?
Oh man, there ain't many. I don't get, my thumb doesn't move very far if I don't see a retweet or a comment or a post by Auntie throws something here. So, and I love that. So, talk to me about, because I'm a huge advocate of social media, and social media gets
Mhm.
a bad rap sometimes, in
Yes.
properly. Although I
Right.
think anything has a negative to it, right? TV has a negative
Right.
to it. Radio
Yes.
can have a negative to it, etc. And what I love about social media is the communication factor of it.
Mhm.
Where if I want to know how to coach throws and I live in Alaska and I see that there is this person who seemingly knows what they're doing coaching throws in Texas, I can communicate with that
Immediately.
person immediately, right? That's what I love, is the communication piece of it. So help us understand your transitioning to Twitter. When you joined, did you think of it, bless you, as a communication tool? What was your kind of first reaction? Like, what was your first purpose to joining Twitter as it relates to track and field and coaching?
Well, I just kind of showed up on the scene and I was like, "Hey, what y'all doing over here?" And I was interjecting myself into
Mm-hmm.
people's conversations. And anybody that had anything to say about throwing, I was sticking to them like white on rice,
Mm-hmm.
because there was not a lot of discussion initially. I've noticed just over the years past, there's been a whole bunch of discussion on throws. But anything that was associated with throwing, I was commenting, whether it was, "Oh, that's interesting. Wow, I would like to learn more. Oh, what you say that position was?" Just whatever the case was.
Mm-hmm.
It started identifying that there were instances where there was discussions about throws, but there wasn't a whole lot of discussions about beginner throwers. some of the more some of the
Interesting.
discussions that I saw were like kind of more technical, yeah,
Yeah,
higher
low
level
level. Hmm.
discussions. And I was like, there's a
Hmm.
market here for this. And I say market, not, anything money related, but there is a need for some discussions. And then after watching people post videos, of their attempts at throwing, and there was a need for some maybe discussions of fundamentals and those types of things. I was like, okay, well, this is pretty widespread.
Hmm.
These kids are out here and they're doing their level best, or the best based off of what they know or what they've seen on YouTube to try to mimic some of the moves that they see the professionals or the elite athletes do. Maybe not understanding the why behind the movements. So let's start to break it down a little bit.
Hmm.
So I just kind of started posting, a few things. Hey, separation is important. Let's teach it at an early age. What you
Hmm.
mean? Let's teach separation at an early age. Well, you can teach it in discus. You can teach it in the shot. This is the way I teach it. And people were like, "Oh, I taught it that way too, and it kind of worked.
Hmm.
Let me follow this chick and let me see what she's talking about." And it just kind of ballooned
Hmm.
from there. I don't really know how to explain it. Why these people listen to me? I don't know.
Hmm. Yeah,
Half of this stuff.
I do know. We'll get to that. Keep us here at the beginning of your Twitter journey. How did you
Mhm.
come up with the name Auntie Throw Something? Was that something before, or was it like I don't know, throw something? How did that come about?
It was throw something at first, and then it was no, it was throw it, THROWIT.
Okay.
um uh and I can't remember what was I. uh oh, I had some aspirations at one time to kind of branch off and do some some training or for specifically for little kids.
Hmm.
And I was going to call it Throws Intelligence Training, THROW, capital I, capital T, Throws Intelligence Training.
Hmm.
And
Very good.
I,
Hmm.
yeah, I thought about it for a minute, and then I was like, okay, I'll leave it alone. Not really. And thus the title, Throw Something, because I just I wanted, there's a lot of kids running, but I want you to throw over here, whatever. There's a whole bunch of
Hmm.
kids, that we aren't capturing because they're not fast. And
Hmm.
because so one thing that's amazing about the sport of track and field, there's something for everybody to do.
Hmm.
And I mean everybody, all shapes, sizes,
Yep.
colors, national origins, languages. It doesn't matter. Even for those persons who have abilities or special abilities, it's still something for everyone to do.
Yeah.
Which may be different from a lot of other extracurricular
Hmm.
activities or sports out there. So I looked for that. Initially that was my first intention with it, and then I can't remember what it was that I was watching, and I felt like I was just kind of taking on this persona of the auntie in the room, the matriarch kind
Hmm.
of, uh, you know, uh, telling kiddos, who post videos, that was great, but you need to turn your right foot more,
Hmm.
or that was
Hmm.
good, but you need to watch your release, or that was really good. I saw what you did there, but your hips kind of stopped. And I was like, that's the kind of stuff somebody's auntie would say. So
Right.
let me put auntie throw something on there. And it was almost like overnight. It was the craziest thing in the world. It was like, who's auntie? Yeah,
Hmm.
well, I guess she does kind of sound like auntie. And then it was what was that? A couple years ago, or maybe a year or so ago, when I put out that tweet that I said I was the Felicia Rashad of the
Hmm.
throws coaching community.
Hmm.
It was like, you surely is, girl. You surely is. It sound like something, you pretty much taking on that persona. So it's
Right.
it's it's stuck with me. And I even scaled down my approach with how I talked with athletes just in the bigger forum. I think oftentimes we see them post videos and we're very quick to critique,
Hmm.
um, but that's not the space to do it.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Put
And
put put a pin in that because I definitely want to
okay,
talk about that. I love this
okay,
persona about Auntie Throw Something, right? Because um, I think, and I said, I was came from a small family, so I didn't have aunts and
Mhm.
uncles and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So maybe it's probably through media, through, you mentioned Felicia Rashad. I think of one of my shows that I watched growing up was 227. Yeah, just think of the auntie,
Yes.
persona. I
Yes.
love that, and especially it works at this age and stage, right? Like if you had joined Twitter at 20, calling yourself Auntie Throw Something, and be like, you're
Yeah.
20, and while
Right.
you
You ain't
might be
live life.
someone saying, yeah, exactly. Why are you telling me you ain't
Yeah.
even done? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right.
So I like that, and I love one of the things that I actually don't, I read and actually probably post 1,000 tweets a day.
Mhm.
So, um, so I don't remember the Felicia Rashad, but I do remember when your Twitter messages and such started hitting my kind of brain, where I
Mhm.
started, oh, not just once. It was like, oh, okay, this person is this person's doing a lot here.
Yeah.
And what I love about it the most, and what attracted me to like reach out and interact with your posts and stuff like that, was
Mhm.
through no fault to very specific T, everything was positive. It was always with love. It was always with, oh, you're going to do awesome. Oh, you're doing great. Even, someone would get up there and just, bomb a throw, just bad technique. Even some, a guy like me is like, oh, yeah, that wasn't very good. And your response would be like, oh, you keep at it. Oh, you've got potential. I think either you are the only one, or at least I think in my world, I give you credit to starting the diamond emoji, like, oh,
Oh,
future
yeah.
diamond, future star, that kind of thing. And I love that. In fact, I am pretty sure I'll give you credit whether it's true or not, but you certainly had a play in it. Is a while back now, maybe a year, 2 year. I don't know how long I've been doing this, but certainly
Mhm.
in the last 6 to 12 months, I've been kind of pouring fire on it. Is I decided to take kind of a couple different steps in Twitter. Again, I'm super hyper focused on coaches. So that's always
Mhm.
where my brain is uplifting and honoring. But I started thinking about these kids that coaches will retweet, and I don't follow a single athlete, a single non-professional athlete. Shout out Grant
Mhm.
Holloway. I'm following you, Big Daddy. But I purposely don't follow the kids because that's not my bend, right? I'm
Right.
hyper focused on the coach,
Right.
but those kids are coached by someone, right? So
Mhm.
I took inspiration from your style on Twitter and really double, tripled, quadrupled down on saying, like, anytime a kid posts a PR, dude, bravo, like, celebrate
Yes.
PRs, whether it's a quarter inch
Yes.
or a mile,
Yes.
because one day it's going to be the last PR, by the way. So, I
Mhm.
love PRs. School records to me fascinate me because it's like, wow, you did better than anybody who's ever attended that high school
Yes.
or like, that's legacy. That's
It
big time. And
is.
if you're the coach, you have helped coach, you've helped develop an
Absolutely.
athlete who's done better than anybody who's ever gone through that school system. That's
Right.
amazing to me. And then it turned on to these offers and decisions. So a kid says, such and such school
Mhm.
offered me, and that's one of the, I'll call it, not controversy, but one of the arguments on Twitter
Mhm.
all the time in my circle with you as coaches of, the kids that say, I got an offer, I got my 20th offer, these, and I see judgment sometimes with coaches of
Mhm.
like, well, why do you got to say that, blah, 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 and all those kind of things. And I'm like,
Right.
I put myself back when I was 17, 18-year-olds. First of all, no offers. If I would have gotten, if my high school would have offered to fail me for a grade so I could do track again for another year, I'd have been like, oh man, I just got offered. I mean, I'd be so
Yeah.
stoked, right? And so these 17, 18-year-old kids that are getting offers from, my shout out to my guy Lamont Vaughn at Grambling
Mhm.
State. When a kid
Yeah.
says, my kid says, I got an offer from Grambling State, and I'm just so thankful. Coach Vaughn believed in me, blah blah. And I'm like, wow, like that kid may have grown up thinking they were never going to college,
Mhm.
and now they see someone else believe in them. That's
Yes.
huge. I love that.
Yeah.
And then when a kid says, I'm going to attend XYZ university, it's like, man,
Mhm.
like the world is in front of you. Like, I don't know if you're
Yeah.
going to become a nurse, a business major, so you're going to own a business. You're going to affect the world. A coach,
Mhm.
you're going to affect the world positively. Like, there's just
Yeah.
so much hope there. So, part of your uh, persona and attitude on social media, on Twitter, it affects other people. It affects me. It's like, I want to be more positive for people. How do
Mhm.
you, um, I don't want to say how you do it, but like
Uh-huh.
you are, admittedly, I don't see every tweet, but I see a lot of your tweets. 100% positive. How do you, and why do you? Maybe that's the better answer. Is question is, why do you exude that love and positivity to people on Twitter. These are people most of them you will never meet, right? So no one will ever know if you said good or bad about them.
Right.
Why do you continue pouring in that positivity and love?
Well, Auntie likes to make friends. I like friends. I love friends. Friends are wonderful. And it's the whole honey and vinegar
Mm.
debate. It's much easier to attract people with positivity than it is to attract them with negativity. And because our events are not the ones that happen inside the Oval, I'm a staunch advocate for those folks who perform outside the Oval, in the 2-3 blocks away, that
Two,
you have
two,
to,
3 miles sometimes.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2-3 miles away, absolutely. Where there aren't any fans out there except your mama. Yeah, that's where I.
And your
But
auntie.
yeah, and your auntie, and your auntie. I look for every opportunity to first off to explain to those athletes that you are what you're doing, what you have done is so very important.
Mm.
Um, Not only is it important, it can create opportunities for you. And even though it may not be highlighted like the sprints and the against the sprints or
Mhm.
anything that happens inside the Oval, these events can create opportunities for you because they created opportunities for me.
Mhm.
Um, I was not the best coming out of high school. I was one of the best, in the state for the little, group that I competed in, but I was not the best at all. Somebody really had to give me a chance. When I tell you, give me a chance, because I promise you, if I had to vie for a scholarship compared to half of the freshman girls in Texas right now,
Right.
they probably wouldn't even let me be a trainer, or a hydration specialist on the team. So I know the value of hard work.
Yeah.
I know the payoff of hard work. I know the payoff of persistence. I know the payoff of having a family and friends who support. I know the payoff of having people who don't even know your last name
Mm.
to support you. So if there was ever anything that I could or wanted to give to those people, those kids who were just like me, you know, those kids who may not have had the absolute best coaching, but they wanted to stick with it and they knew there was something there for them to do. I wanted them to know there's somebody out here that is your absolute biggest fan.
Mm.
It doesn't matter, if you PR by 1 meter, 1 foot, 1 inch. Improvement is improvement, and everybody likes improvement.
Mhm.
And you're going to improve regardless if you have amazing coaching, if you have bad coaching, if you have no coaching. If you stick with it, you will improve.
Yeah.
So to create a space to be positive for those kids who were really putting themselves out there. I mean, you put videos out there on Twitter,
Right.
for everybody to critique, and there's a whole bunch of folks that'll throw a bunch of critique at you. Somebody somewhere has got to see the good in it somewhere. And even though the rest of the throw may look like, what? I like the way you turned your foot in the middle of
Right.
the ring. That was awesome. Just keep turning your foot, you
You
know.
you
And
you
then go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, to piggyback on that is, you've heard that the only way darkness is defeated is with light.
Mhm.
Do you think of it, and maybe you haven't, and you should? Uh, that's a very directive. You should be thinking this way.
Yes,
But
maybe we should.
have you ever thought about, the positivity that you're bringing onto Twitter here specifically? Because
Mhm.
there is negativity in the Twitter space that you're kind of helping drown out the negativity because you're over indexing on positive. Do you ever think of your tweets in that aspect?
I don't know that I can't say that I've that was like the reason why I did that.
Mm.
I have noticed there have been a few discussions, about maybe technique and stuff where I felt like maybe my tweets diffused
Mm.
the situation from being, heated,
Mhm.
a heated debate, maybe in a little bit of an interjection of humor or whatever the case is,
Mhm.
or, just Auntie's nice little strategically placed oblivion,
Mhm.
those kinds of things.
Yeah.
But it wasn't meant to pull the negative space from it. It was just meant to be positive,
Mm.
or just, I don't know. It's just it really, maybe not so much positive. It's just acknowledgement.
Mm.
Acknowledgement that there are kids that are out there trying, and there are coaches that are out there trying, and somewhere between all of us, we better figure this out. You know.
So I told you to put a pin in it. So I did want to have this discussion with you. So
Uh-huh.
I've been blessed to interview two, whatever above Mount Rushmore would be. It's like Hall of Fame, Mount Rushmore, and then wherever people like Brooks Johnson and George Williams live in. Okay, these are just
Yeah.
some icons in our sport. They have coached longer
Mhm.
than I probably will ever live. I feel like I'm
Yeah.
gonna live for a while. But from them, I first heard this through Brooks, and Brooks attributed it to George, and I had George Williams
Mhm.
on to actually talk about this quote that he coined, and that's, if you're not in the huddle, you don't know the play. And it's a
Mhm.
really, like, if you think about it in regards to coaching, whatever level you're on, that's a pretty, like, if you think about that for a second, if you're not in the huddle, you don't know
Mhm.
the play. How do you balance? And you mentioned this, you started going into this, and I paused you. Um, I've heard coaches um, I've heard coaches complain, and it's a valid complaint of they use the kids these days, which I'm not a fan of that phrase, but
Mhm. Mhm.
but that kids now can come to their coach and be like, well, look at the such and such, they don't throw that way, why am I not throwing this style or whatever, blah blah
Mhm.
blah. So there can be with I've heard of internet coaches, right? Social media coaches, which
Right.
hurts my
Mhm.
soul because don't talk down about
Right.
social media. Um,
Mhm.
so how do you balance your heart is in the right place? You want to help an athlete, but I have to imagine, and correct me if I'm wrong, that most of the time you don't know if the kid is in a, I'm going to call it a Jim Smith example,
Mhm.
where they don't have a throws coach. Jim's doing all he
Mhm.
can and still winning state titles, by the way, but
Right.
I digress. Or if they're in a situation where they have a good coach and maybe he has a different technique, right? There are different techniques and strategies,
Mhm.
etc., for coaching specifically throws. How do you balance that? Am I being helpful for the entire ecosystem of that kid, or I'm just helping this one part? So which means I might not be helping the overall for that kid in their program.
Well, and I hope I'm going to answer this correctly. That shift from being critical or critiquing a throw in the public space on the timeline, I broke away from that only because I was only going off of what I saw the kid post
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
what I saw in the video, which is a
Mm-hmm.
very, very, very small snippet of what happens in the background
Mm-hmm.
to what may have gotten that kid to that point.
Right.
I mean, shoot, it could have been the second time that a kid picked up a discus, and here I am talking about, well, you need the trajectory and the angle of release and the angular momentum and blah, 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 and the kid's like, what, and so I pulled away from that and just started, focusing more on just saying to the kid, great job. It looks really good. Just keep working hard.
Mm-hmm.
For those kids who reached out to me and asked me, and believe it or not, I mean, DMs are open, so everybody's asking, hey, what could I do here? What am I missing here? Or if I felt like there was something about this kid and they were getting coaching, but it was just this one little thing, I may reach out to them and say, look, first off, you're doing amazing. I mean, I don't even know how to explain how well you're doing, but tell me what happens, or tell me what you feel when you do this with your arm, or
Mm-hmm.
tell me what you feel when you do this with your knee, or tell me what you feel when you do this with your left foot. And they would kind of explain it to me, and I'd say, who's your coach? Oh, well, I don't have a coach. Okay, let's talk then.
Mm-hmm.
First off, before you and I talk even anymore, I need you to tell your parent
Mm-hmm.
that you're talking to me on Twitter.
Yeah, I didn't even think
That's
about that
very,
aspect. Yeah, it's great.
very important. Tell
Yeah.
your parent that you're talking to me on Twitter. Tell your parent and tell your coach, wherever your coach is, tell them that you're talking to me on Twitter. I have no problem helping you, and I'll help you as much as I can, via the videos that you show. But it's very important that those people who are integral in your training understand that you're getting some kind of advice or suggestion from me. And then I would go on to maybe tell them some things that they could fix. But it was very important that I understood, whether or not they had a coach or whatever case is. And even when they reached out to me and they said, well, yeah, I have a coach. His name is so and so, or her name is so and so. Okay, I want you to tell your coach or explain to your coach, hey, Auntie sent me a video that said, or Auntie explained something to me like this. Is it okay? Or is this something that you want me to do? I've always told kids, talk with your coach first
Mm-hmm.
before you implement any changes, any of these suggestions that even some of these armchair coaches are giving some of the kiddos, in the public space.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to your coach first. It could very well be you're not ready for that move
Mm-hmm.
that they're suggesting.
Mm-hmm.
And what we don't want to do, or what we have to be very careful of, is making suggestions to these little young minds who are like sponges and just want to get better,
Mm-hmm.
and messing up any trajectory they may have had
Mm-hmm.
in their training with their coaches only because we don't take the time to ask.
Yeah,
So I'm,
that's
I'm very, you're very diligent in asking
yeah,
that.
great perspective. That's you said it much more articulately than I did about you're seeing one spot of it that may be something the coach has decided they're not ready for, or that's in the
Yes,
next training cycle, and it's like,
yes,
golly,
yes,
Twitter coaching, Twitter, get back off, man. I'm good. Those kind of
right,
things. So that
right.
you articulated that much better. Now, one of the many things, again, your positivity is what to me is the most value for me that you bring to the Twitter space. But the other thing that you do is you have this, like, I don't know if it's a gift or just a passion, but within the throws, you have this really unique way of using other items. In the throws, we're famous for, throwing bowling pins and
Right.
throwing cones and, javies. And, throwers are the most tool users there
Yes.
are. Hurdlers are and sprinters are the next group there. Distance runners, they don't. They're just like
That.
run. They
Right.
stopwatch and run. That's all they care about.
Right.
Um, and the two unique things, and I don't necessarily think the first one is unique. The second one is definitely unique, but I don't see it very often. Is you've shown these videos, and what's cool is other athletes have shown the videos of you teaching them and their coaches
Uh-huh.
how to use pool noodles.
Yes.
And again, we don't talk training, and we're getting close to our time too here, Auntie. So I just want to be respectful of your
Oh,
time.
we don't have another hour?
Yeah, well,
Gosh.
I do. You have a real life. You got to go do stuff. Um, when I stay extra for work, my wife's like, "Yeah, keep working. Yeah, you're good. You ain't got to come home. Yeah, you're good."
Okay, you're good.
Um, what are you using pool noodles for? And again, we don't talk training, so I don't want you to get too in the weeds here because it'll fly right over my head
Mm.
anyway. But you're using pool noodles like as a way to teach something in the throws.
Okay, and so you remember when I did that presentation at TTFCA?
Hmm.
And when I was tapped to do the presentation, I was like, oh my God, how, what will I speak on? What am I going to do? Oh, this is super easy. I'm going to speak on the language that I know. Beginner throws is my second language.
Hmm.
That's my superpower. That's what I know.
Hmm.
And what I do know is, out of all of the attendees that were there may be of maybe 10 or 15 of them who are designated throws coaches who've thrown at maybe very well in high school or maybe in college, whatever. But really, people don't have that extensive beginner throws coach knowledge. Or if they do, I just hadn't, it's a lot of times we don't see it. Plus, you're trying to manage practice. The biggest thing is just trying to manage practice. So I took things around the house or things that I had used previously to teach concepts to beginner throwers on how to, make their bodies move in a certain way. The pool noodle drill, no joke. I came up with it in like 5 minutes. I was like, how do I teach a kid how to get their hips around?
Hmm.
First off, when it comes to teaching concepts to kiddos, there has to be some kind of reaction to it. They have to hear something, they have to see something, they have to feel something. So one of the ways that we can hear, see, and feel is to use a pool noodle. And how will we know that our hips are getting all the way around in a throw? Is to take this pool noodle, kind of have it behind our back a little bit, stand a certain distance away from one of the poles that holds up the beautiful discus, the gill discus cage
That's
with the
the
gill
best
netting.
best commercial ever right here. I promise you, I didn't pay her much to say that.
This has been
So,
brought to you by. So you take that pool noodle, you put it behind your back, and you have them to push their hips all the way around or to turn their hips all the way around through the throw. throw until the pool noodle makes a popping sound on
Oh,
the
okay.
bar.
Yeah.
Well, deal is there's usually one, two, three, four, 5 bars. Pool noodles are 97 cents a piece.
Right.
You're trying to teach a concept to 27 kids who came out on day one to learn how to throw, and everybody's stopping their hips at the front of the ring because what do we want to do? We want to watch the discus land.
Mm.
So one of the ways we get away from that is and making certain that the throw is indeed a full body throw instead of just an upper body throw is to show them how to use their hips and the expectation of where the hips should land at the very end of the throw or where the hip should finish at the end of the throw. So use the pool noodle to do it.
What
And it,
I
plus it just helps to manage practice. You got 27 kids.
mhm.
You know
what
what I mean?
what
So
I love about that is, you know, not just kids, people learn in many, many different ways, right? Some people need
yes,
to read it, some people need to see it,
yes,
some people need to do it. You know, that's why drills are important, right?
right.
Some people need a combination of those things.
Mm-hmm.
This is another kind of sensory way of
Yes,
teaching people. And I do, you know, and I know I'm the equipment guy, and I know equipment's expensive. Trust me, I know it more better than you do because I got to sell it to you every day
right.
here, guys and gals. But I love that it's a 97-cent Dollar Tree solution. So
Yes,
very much in the same vein, 97 cents here. The other thing that you have done that is so cool, I just love it because it, you know, healthy things grow. So anything that we can do to
right,
help grow the
right.
sport in general, and then any portion with throws, sprints, jumps, etc., portion of it to grow is like it's the heart. Let's do this. So you created now. It's math, which that scares me. But you created this like super easy to build, inexpensive. Anybody, literally anybody, can build this. If you want to have a circle, so whether it's the discus circle or the shot circle on concrete or whatnot, with chalk, you built this like what did you call it? The Circle Maker 3000 or
It was
something like
just a
that.
circle maker right there. The shout out to oh gosh, I can't remember her name. She's gonna beat me to pieces. She's a throws coach in Virginia. She put the circle maker 3000 on the end of it. So
Oh, is that who?
shout out
Yeah,
to her.
that's good. I love it.
Yes, yes,
Hey, if you're
yes.
listening, you gotta hit us up first of all and stake your claim for Circle Maker 3000 TM.
Circle maker
Trademark that. That was
3000. Oh,
beautiful. I
she's gonna
love
be
it.
so mad at me for not remember
That's
her
all
name. I
right.
need to
That's
like
all
look
right.
over. But nonetheless, I what's funny about that is I've had that thing for 4 years now, maybe even longer.
It's
When I was coaching the little kiddos, I had because I had all of those babies and we were doing those parking lot sessions. So
mm,
I would just go and I draw like 12 circles, because again, if you're trying to manage throws practice and you got one ring,
mm,
you'll be there all day.
right.
These kids are not getting the reps and the touches that they need. And what do we know about little kids? If they're not in the ring, they're playing with the dirt. Yeah, because you
Mm,
start running out of fruit snacks and juice boxes and all of that other stuff to keep their attention. I was spending $35 a day.
right.
And I can't keep their attention. So I built everybody a ring, or I draw
Huh.
everybody a ring. Everybody had a ring. So we would just do drills, learning things
Yeah.
together. And like I said, I've had that thing for about 4 or 5 years, and something said, hmm. After I saw there was one coach that posted about he had these beautiful circles that were drawn. Come to find out, he was getting down on his hands and knees, trying to draw these circles. I was like, oh no,
Oh man.
I got something for you, baby. This is a better
Yes.
way, So I
Yes.
pulled that out, and I've probably given away more than I can imagine.
What?
There's
How many views
coaches
did
all
that?
around DFW that have them.
How many views did that video that you posted get?
Oh, over 20,000. It's like 20.5
Yeah.
thousand.
If I
It's like
remember right,
20,500.
you had about 5,000 until I retweeted it. I'm just saying. I don't know. Maybe my info. I don't know. I don't know.
But,
But
but
did you?
what was funny was all of the folks that came to me. I was like, you should sell this
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Like, you can go to
Yeah.
just one of those big box stores and just buy some stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I love. Simplicity is important, so I love that aspect of it.
Yeah.
Did you pin that? Is that pinned on your Twitter feed or is
I
it
don't think it is. I guess I need to.
okay? Because here's what we're about to do as
Yeah.
we start wrapping up today.
Okay.
First of all, give everybody your Twitter handle. We need to. We got to make sure. Let's see how influence we have here. We got to check how many followers do you have before people listen, and then after. Don't look now. We've got a while.
Don't look.
Yeah, not we don't the magic world of podcast land. We're recording this, guys and gals, on No Foolin' April Fool's Day. You're listening to this at best on the 18th. That's when it publishes.
Right.
Yeah. You got 17 days to pump up those numbers here, right?
Right.
But and it's going to be in the show notes as well. But give us your Twitter handle.
It is, oh, I can't remember it. Let me see. I have to look.
Oh
Isn't
my!
that
This is
horrible? That's
social
so
media
bad. This
101.
is, I just
Know
pushed
your
the buttons.
handle.
I'm old. I just pushed the buttons. The handle is Auntie Throw Something, the community coach. Is that what I say I
You
am?
just no, you just
Yeah,
yeah, you
but the
just want.
community coach.
What's the at? Is it at AUNTI?
Oh,
Yeah,
it's at Throw Something, and that's SUMTHIN because Auntie don't do words
perfect. So in your
like that.
search
I don't
function,
spell
if you're
good.
on Twitter, go and just search throws something, all one word, SUMTHIN, and that'll
Yeah.
bring up Auntie Throw Something. Go follow her. Uh,
Oh my gosh.
honestly, whether you are a throws coach or not, I would really um, suggest you go follow her because of the positivity side of it. Like you're going to gain from just seeing how she treats other people. I mean, that to me is a big positive. So throws coach or
Am
not,
I getting am I getting the Mike Cunningham bump? Am I
well,
getting the Mike
you
Cunningham bump
you
here?
might go down. Be careful what you ask for. um, but it is important for me to share positivity and positive people. So I do think it's important that you go follow and support Auntie Throw Something here because
Oh,
the more she
thank
sees
you.
that her influence matters, like she'll want to do more. It's kind of that dopamine hit. We're like, oh wow, people
Yes.
are getting something out of what I say. Okay, well maybe I should give them more, right? So
Right.
I just love that. So Auntie, I am just first of all so thankful that you would join us today. You are not. We're gonna go full circle here. You are not a show filler. We've been working on this for a
Oh,
while.
thank
I'm
you.
s- I track and field and coaching is so important to me
Mhm.
and my life personally, and then of course to
Yes.
Gill Athletics. I mean, we do what we do because of who you are. I mean, there's
Mhm.
no building javelins and hammers and pole vault pits without you
Mhm.
guys and gals out there that are coaching. It just doesn't happen. So to be able to uplift and honor someone like yourself who lives and breathes it every day, lives it and breathes it in a very unique aspect from youngins all the way up to the college side and beyond, and then does it with just a heavy dose of positivity, which we
Oh,
all could use more and more of that, not just in today's world. We could have used it back in the 60s, and
mhm.
guess what? We're going to need it in the 2040s and
Yes.
2050s as well. Positively
Yes.
is always going to be a valuable asset out there. So,
Mhm.
I'm just so thankful for what you do and how you do it, especially in my favorite world, the Twitterverse. So I'm just so
Yes.
thankful for you.
Oh no, thank you. I'm overjoyed that you would even think enough about the content that I posted. You want to contribute in the mass spread of it. So, nonetheless, thank you for the opportunity. This is so awesome.
Absolutely. I just want to, from all of us and those out there who you'll never hear from that you
Uh,
have affected positively, like that's
mhm.
so important. You're carrying on Coach Smith's legacy. I love learning about. That was my favorite part of this whole conversation. Honestly, was Jim
Yeah,
Smith. You're such a hero, Jim Smith. Honestly, I love it.
yeah, he's great.
All the way to Greg, not Dave Estes,
Yeah,
Dave Woolman, the real Dave Woolman. I'm gonna get a
right.
nasty DM from Dave Estes. I just can feel it. Um,
And that's my bro too. I love him to pieces.
but just
And
thankful.
Jamar
Yeah, and
Evans, don't
Jamar,
forget about
yes, yeah. Hey,
Jamar
we're still
Evans.
searching for Jamar Evans. If you know Jamar Evans
Yes,
from Grambling State, please we got to connect and
amazing,
tell him thank
amazing
you for
person.
what he did because they poured into
Yes.
you. And again, I love that
Hmm.
visual that you gave us. There's so many people behind you with their hand on you and pushing you and
Hmm. Yes,
pouring into you, and then that
yes.
has extended out to others that you're affecting in positive ways,
Hmm.
and that is literally the definition of coaching is
Yes, it is.
positively affecting those that are in your program, no matter where they
Yes,
are. Where your 2 feet are is extremely important.
absolutely.
Auntie, thank you so much. I'm so glad
Thank
you were here, man.
you.
So glad. I'm
Thank
glad.
you.
I'm glad we finally got it done, man. I'm just
I
so
know, I
thankful.
know, I know.
So thankful.
Appreciate that.
All right, go have a good day. If you are still here listening, God bless you. I love you so much. Let's come back next week and we'll do it all over again. Have a good day, guys.
Bye.